Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Michael. You can call me Coach King as well. We are continuing the Leadership Anchor series. This is session number 4. And we're just going to open this up with the tension. What is the tension? And tension is the internal conflict that's within leadership. Most leaders face this at some point, but you don't realize where this tension is coming from. So I just want to shed a spotlight on the tension that you feel, that you sense, that you experience in leadership. So every leader says they want team input. We all want our team to give us some type of feedback. We want collaboration. We want ideas. We want your buy-in, right? But then there's a tension that shows up in every team. There's a tension between groupthink and healthy consensus. Because when teams stop challenging ideas, something dangerous happens. Agreement becomes easier than honesty, okay? And silence becomes mistaken for alignment. So how do leaders know the difference? As leaders, how do we know the difference between a healthy consensus versus groupthink? And that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's anchor this in scripture. It says in Proverbs 11:14, plans fail for the lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Scripture celebrates counsel, multiple perspectives, shared wisdom, and collective discernment. But the Bible never teaches blind agreement. Okay? Healthy counsel is not everyone thinking the same thing. It's people bringing different insights so that the truth can emerge. The goal of leadership is not comfort. You're having this discussion with each other, not out of comfort, not out of convenience, but of getting somewhere in collaboration. Because the actual goal with this collaborative effort is clarity. You want to bring clarity to whatever it is that you guys are talking about as a group, okay? So let's define the terms. Groupthink happens when the desire for harmony suppresses honest disagreement. Groupthink happens when the desire for harmony suppresses honest disagreement. So when when we are being honest, most likely we're not going to see it from the same perspective. That's the danger of groupthink. Groupthink tends to just suppress everybody else's perspective into just one narrow perspective, and we lose our innovation. And because we lose our innovation, we lose our interest. We stop asking questions. We actually avoid what needs the elephants in the room. So we avoid the conflict that's in the room, right? We avoid politics. And people just go along with whoever has the most dominant voice. That is groupthink. And it's not because you necessarily agree. It's because as leaders, we don't want it. We don't want the tension. We don't like the tension it creates. We don't like the pressure that we're experiencing right now because of our viewpoint. Healthy consensus invites diverse perspectives before alignment is reached. Okay? So your healthy consensus invites a diverse perspective before alignment is reached. Okay? So people challenge ideas. Okay? You can't just come with innovation, an innovative idea or a new idea without there being some challenge. You have to have that idea tested. That's a practice. It has to be tested. If it's not tested and we go for it, we all might be burning, right? But if it's tested through the fire and whatever's left, that's what we use. So we have to test these ideas. We have to challenge these ideas. And as leaders, when we put our ideas out there and they get challenged, do not get discouraged. Do not lose your confidence, but adapt. These ideas have to be tested, and perspectives that are not aligned, right? We have to test your assumption, right? Because right away it's an assumption. So we need to test it. We need to bring insight from different perspectives and different experiences from people. Okay. And once clarity emerges, the team aligns and moves together. This is healthy consensus. And the difference is simple. Healthy consensus pursues truth. Healthy consensus pursues truth. Okay. When you're under pressure, the pressure should be truth, right? Truth is not personal. Okay. You don't have truth. Remember, the truth are the facts of what the subject is, right? And when we keep it there, that is a healthy consensus, right? Keep the facts. Keep the main thing. Okay. And that keeps us out of this groupthink harmony or this tension where I feel like I have to leverage my ideas over yours, right? We can often get like that when there's a lot of chiefs in the room, right? When there's a lot of people that are leaders in the room and a lot of egos in the room, groupthink becomes the compromise rather than a healthy consensus effort, okay? Because we as human beings have been programmed to win. We want to get our point across and we want to win always. We want to get our perspective. And if we can't win, what do? We surrender. Rarely do we come to a negotiable compromise that actually fits everybody, but that takes a skill to negotiate. It takes a very special and flexible person to change the way they're thinking so that they can learn and grow. And really, that is the whole open mind concept. When they tell you to have an open mind coming into a meeting, there's going to be some hard conversation that needs to happen. But don't just agree if you really don't. Challenge the assumption that's in the room. Not the person that created it, but the assumption of what's being said. Okay? Then we can come to a healthy consensus and we can pursue truth together. So there's some warning signs to groupthink and the fact that it may be in the room or in your conversation. Okay? You'll hear phrases like, whatever you think is best. It's that indifference in mentality that lets you know that probably we have some groupthink going on. You're not challenging this assumption at all. Or that's fine with me. Or silence when difficult decisions are being discussed. Nobody's saying a word. Nobody's saying anything. There's no talking. It's just dead radio silence. So that is an indication, or maybe an indication, that you have groupthink going on. It's perspectives on your team that are indifferent. So if a person's indifferent, there's a groupthink that's happening, right? Fine with me. They're actually just putting a wall up. That's fine with me. I don't really want to talk about this, right? Because there's some sensitive topics that they may have some strong viewpoints that have happened. And as leaders, we may have to look at our team and see why they're saying it's fine with me. Do a little bit more digging if you see that. Are you sure? I really want to get your opinion on this. I value you as a member. I really want to know exactly what you think. If this is not going to work, please tell me. I don't want us all going down this rabbit hole only for it to not work. I'm listening to you. Okay. Most of the time, your teammates want to be seen. The people on your team, if they say it's fine with me, hold on, they have an opinion. What part is fine with you? We can do some digging. That's when our coaching and leadership skills should kick into play. Okay. And there's an art form to it because we can go into deeper discussions if it's formulated the correct way. Okay. You have to lay a safe environment or a psychologically safe question for people in order for them to open up with sensitive topics. Okay. So when your team just stops asking questions altogether, it rarely means everything is perfect. It's not what's happening. Okay. It usually means that people may be intimidated. They may be disengaged. They feel unheard, right? Or they just are ready to resign. They're done. Okay. And when that happens, we as leaders, we lose something that is extremely valuable, right? And it's an indication that your perspective as a leader has been lost. So healthy teams challenge ideas without attacking people. And as leaders, it's important for us to challenge the idea, not the person. Okay. People take things very personal, especially when their career in their heart and their soul is into something. And you have to have this very difficult conversation with them. Healthy teams challenge ideas without attacking the people, though. Okay. And the kind of environment, it must be that you have to create an environment that does not attack people. It has to be intentional about the thing. So a lot of things that we do is we set the ground rules ahead of the meeting. Hey, just so you know, we're going to be talking about some very sensitive topics. If at any moment you feel uncomfortable, please let me know. And this is kind of like what we do with trauma training, but in a way, you can apply the same principle of that. So lay a foundation or groundwork with the team, with the people in the meeting, and facilitate this thing correctly, right? If we want to move forward in our perspective and innovation and actually making the real changes that we need to do as a team and putting forth the effort, a consensus effort, right? We need to understand everyone's perspective, because what happens is they may bring some things you didn't think about to the table, and you might realize that this change initiative may not actually be what the direction we need to go. Okay. We might need to spend a little bit more time developing certain things of this initiative or project that we're putting in place. Okay. So let's look at this inside of the idea of change. This falls under education. So can I learn? These are learning things. Okay. Education is not just about knowledge. It's about developing your capacity, right? So this is a stretching moment for leaders. So if you're a leader listening and you are facilitating meetings and you're meeting with your team on regular, or you're doing monthly meetings, keep this in mind. Open your eyes and listen for change. When you propose a change initiative or an idea, or when your teammates or your colleagues propose ideas, be on the lookout for some of this stuff, okay? Because we're trying to develop capacity, which is, can I learn? Strong leaders educate their teams to do what? Question the assumption, evaluate ideas, and speak with respect, okay? You know, sometimes people, when they disagree, man, you know it, they will cuss you left and right. Or you might felt like you got cussed out by how direct and just kind of blunt or brash they may be at times, right? Adults are something else, but the key is to speak with respect. I'm sorry, but there is a decorum to disagree, right? In a healthy way. And we have to disagree constructively, okay? Because disagreement handled well produces stronger decisions, okay? I don't want to just tell you something for you to agree with me. I'm embracing your disagreement. I'm not pushing it. And if you push back, that's the pressure that we feel as leaders too. That pressure that hits us, and how we respond dictates what's inside of us. So a team that never disagrees it's not unified. It's usually silent. Silence and unity are not the same thing. And silence is dangerous in leadership environments. So here's the thing. Let's talk about how this impacts your performance. When groupthink dominates a team, 3 things happen. First, blind spots get bigger. So if you had a blind spot before that was small, it's growing. There's stuff that you're not seeing. Susie's leaving, Sally's leaving, Tommy's leaving too. You're like, whoa, massive exodus is getting ready to happen, right? That's what happens. That is the impact that groupthink has on decisions, because people will either get on the ship or off the ship, right? So the blind spots with leadership grows when we're in groupthink. There's something that I don't know that's happening. It's a tall tale sign. When there's silence, we says silence promotes violence. That means there's an action that you don't know it's happening, right? Decisions are being made without seeing the risks, right? Our job is, when we do a change initiative, is literally to see the risk. What risk are we assuming by doing this? Second, innovation declines. Without diverse perspective, you can't have innovation. It's not true innovation, at least. It's just a change initiative that was pushed, right? But if you have different perspectives, now you can have the diversity or diversification in the idea, and you have a more holistic approach to your plan. It's so important that collaboration with diverse perspectives and all parties and all stakeholders that are involved in said initiative are at the table. They have to be present. If not, you're pushing something and it's not innovation. It's not an innovative idea. Sorry. You didn't think this thing through. You didn't get all aspects of what this thing will really impact. You don't have all the factions sitting at the table, or you've dismissed the factions that are being impacted by said decision. Okay. So thirdly, accountability weakens. Accountability weakens. Nobody's taking ownership of that idea because they didn't feel like it was theirs, right? If you just push something, it's no longer theirs. I don't feel responsible for this idea because it wasn't mine. Wasn't mine to begin with, so I'm not, no skin off my back. That's what's happening, because no one was there to challenge the decision. Everyone assumed someone else challenged it. And if I assume, you know what they say about assumption, right? If I assume someone else did, healthy consensus strengthens performance because it exposes weak thinking early, and early correction prevents costly mistakes later. Early correction prevents costly mistakes later. Okay? So let's set some rules around decision making that are pertaining to groupthink and healthy consensus. Okay? Here's your leadership rule. If your team agrees quickly without discussion, you have or may have some groupthink. So just follow up with some questions. Leave room for opportunity for more questions. Encourage them to ask questions. Encourage them to take things offline so that you can figure it out, right? They may not say anything because of Susie in the room. There might be some tension between the two people that are on camera or in the room, right? You have to do your due diligence to figure out why we're agreeing too quickly. Hold on. I feel like I feel like we have some groupthink going on here, guys. There has to be something going on, right? What are the risks? Maybe even ask it. Hey, guys, what are the risks? Let's think of this differently. Do you guys see any risks in this decision that we're making? Any risk, any potential risk, okay? If your team debates respectfully before aligning, you're building a healthy consensus. So it should be a little bit of a debate. Well, they have to have some jockeying back and forth between the ideas and perspectives, okay? So look for those things. These are decision rules that we're looking for amongst our teams, okay? The speed of agreement is not always a sign of alignment. So how fast we agree doesn't mean that the team's aligned. So if you're an emerging person and you just started getting your team together, it's not about how fast they align. You actually want a more pragmatic approach with your people. We should slow it down, not fast. It's not about efficiency so you can go home and eat bonbons. It's about, or get that cup of coffee you've been looking for because you're on 8 o'clock, right? You're like, man, I need a cup of coffee. You sitting there thinking like that, right? You might even have to, that might even be the problem. People are in there hungry. People in there needing some coffee. That's why you wonder why there's snack tables in these big conference rooms, right? It's because we want to make sure that everybody has everything they need so that they can focus on really on the perspective that needs to be in the room so that we can really innovate and make a real change in this place right now, right? So we supply that for them. You know, have a bathroom that's close. You know, if you look at most conference rooms, the bathrooms are right outside the rooms, right? It's just little things like that that make a difference so that we do not have this thing called groupthink that happens in these community spaces, right? Sometimes it's a sign of silence. Okay, groupthink is a sign of silence, right? So we just need to make sure that silence, we use it as a time period for people to process, not for a sign of agreement. Okay. Silence could be groupthink, or it could be that the people are processing and we haven't given them time to think about what's being challenged or what to challenge in this case. So strong leaders create environments where people feel safe to challenge ideas. So we should invite it. And as a facilitator, we should really, really want these challenging ideas. We want to invite it. So my challenge is, how do you create that? How can you create those things? So this week, you and I both, we're going to practice these things. During a next team discussion, ask this question before making a decision. What are we missing? Pause. Let the people think this. Then say, who sees this differently? And see, those two questions invite this healthy challenging of this idea. And then you open the door for a different perspective in the room. You invite it. And that perspective strengthens the decision that I'm making. Okay? So here's the thing. Keep in mind, remember this. Healthy teams are not silent. They're thoughtful. They challenge ideas. They refine thinking. And once clarity emerges, they move together. That's the difference between groupthink and healthy consensus. One protects comfort, the other pursues wisdom. Lead teams that seek truth, not just agreement. And remember, make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. Peace out.